You can't make sense of crazy. And then there's also the dissociative barriers. Trying to create a timeline of the accuracy of what all took place. Going all the way back to November 2023. Before we were a presenter at the Healing Together, we reached out to Emily Christensen, who was a coach. We asked for advice on how to speak about our DID and our childhood trauma in front of a crowd of people. We had never done that before. We're discussing the Healing Together conference in our presentation because everything that we presented at the conference is now incorporated inside of the mighty app of System Speaks, such as healing your parts and reparenting yourself, and the left brain, right brain of creating with the right side of your brain while listening to the left, the logical side. So you're healing, the bilateral healing. All of these things that we've been saying for years that we've been doing was our presentation. And now it's incorporated in the System Speaks community. Let's go. In April of 2024, there was a podcast released of the System Speaks first ever retreat. Wow, people get to meet Emma Sunshaw. That sounds fun. And she's my therapist. Of course I want to meet her. But on the podcast, she spoke about how immediately after the retreat, she went inpatient. You can only go inpatient if you are homicidal or suicidal. And I immediately started thinking, wow, oh, is she okay? What happened? How can I care for her? In what way can I care for her? But we never missed a beat. I mean, we never missed any therapy sessions. She never canceled. She's notoriously late, but we never missed any therapy sessions. So if she did go inpatient, it didn't affect our sessions, and we were seeing her weekly. May of 2024, she got a divorce, and she legally changed her name to Emma Sunshaw. Things in the portal changed to Sunshaw Counseling. Also, she became our therapist. And we asked, what's going to change? What's the difference between a coach and a therapist? She said it's slightly different, but nothing changed. Nothing at all changed. We continued to be chummy, and she would overshare about her relationships, her family life, and I got to know her on a different level, on a level that a patient client shouldn't. Let's fast forward to the first symposium, first System Speak Symposium in Idaho, October 10th through the 14th of 2024. Whoa. We were gifted these books. We were supposed to talk about the things in the books. Nobody really knew each other. There were 7 of us, 7 trauma survivors who we're trying to evaluate the room, whether or not this is safe. Are these people safe? We didn't know each other. I knew Emma, and I was meeting new friends. I didn't want to disclose that she was my therapist, or that was how I was here. I mean, I did buy and pay for my symposium, but I didn't want to seem as if I'm in the know. But I was really in the know. I knew it all. You see, in therapy, before the symposium, she told me that her and Jules were estranged, that they hadn't talked in a couple of weeks, and that she didn't know if Jules was going to be a participant or if she was going to be a facilitator, that they weren't speaking. Why did I need to know that about her then girlfriend? Let's reinsert the podcast. On the podcast, everything seemed really Pollyanna between her and Jules. So I didn't understand why she was telling me one thing and on the podcast was aired differently. But, you know, you start questioning things, and and things don't line up, you got to make sense of it. At that symposium, we were asked, hey, do you want to be on the podcast? Okay, sure. I mean, she had spoke about me before, Brushstrokes and Imagination, back during the pandemic. That's whenever we became a really big fan of hers. And then there's a parasocial, right? The dynamic, the patriarchy of, she's our therapist. Not going to tell anybody. She's a podcaster. Everybody knows her. Are people envying me? Hope not. So, of course, us and a few other friends discussed the symposium and what all we learned. We were advertising for her. She was going to make good money off of this. And amongst the group who were in the symposium, there was the Instagram influencer and there was a TikTok influencer. So once this podcast was aired, it was launched big time. Many DID community were hearing it and listening to it and going, what? I was advertising all the time. I was being exploited. I was exploiting myself. Wait a second. My therapist never told me otherwise. She never said, hey, you don't do that. It's not a big deal. Like, that's not your responsibility. Actually, she made it my responsibility. So it all made sense. We were a social media influencer for the DID community. We had recently presented at the Healing Together, and other people were talking to us and we were talking to them. Every time a podcast aired, we would launch it. This all worked to Emma's advantage, and we weren't seeing it. She wasn't saying no. We were also a member of the board, the 501c3. That's a long story. We'll fill you in on that in a little while. But we were constantly recruiting other people to come over to System Speaks, and she was making bank. Let me tell you about that. On the System Speaks website, there was a tier plan, and there were some advantages. You could go in there for free for the first 3 months and then begin paying. There was a separateness to this. Because it was a tier plan, it was based upon the more money that you had or contributed to, then the more access that you had into the community and to be with other people. In therapy, we would say we don't really understand the app. Like, are we missing something? It doesn't seem user-friendly. We continue to participate and we continue to post. But there was very much a separateness. And monthly, there were board meetings. The board meetings consisted of where all of the money that is coming in to the app, where it was going, and how we were going to utilize it. Or Emma would discuss the finances. We knew, because of the tier plan and the amount of money that we were spending, $30 a month just to participate, that she was getting some money. There were quite a few people here in the community. And where was all of that money going? Was it paying for the website, or was it lining her pockets? We asked if we could be a member of the board whenever she said that she was going to step down at the first of the year. We were elected. Okay, how were we elected? I mean, we were her client, but did anybody else know that? In therapy, we had this brilliant idea that we would start audio recording all of our therapy sessions so that we could go back and remember who was saying what and what exactly were they saying. We could listen to the tone of voice and the description of things. We were able to pinpoint what part of our story that we had already shared with Emma, and so that we wouldn't retell the story. But she called us out on that in the future because we have a horrible habit of re-saying the things that we've already said. So naturally, whenever we were elected for the 501c3, and the first meeting ever, we were going to introduce ourselves and we were asking some questions. We wanted to record it, save it for ourselves, because we were really proud of this moment to be a part of the System Speaks community. And what were we going to do on the board? What exactly were we going to do? Art. That was January of 2025. So the next board meeting, we were going to talk about the finances and the taxes. Like, where does all this money go and how do we file taxes being a 501c3? She had led everybody to believe on the podcast that this was her first ever 501c3. When February came around, things hit the fan. In therapy, we already knew that there were things going on between her and Jules that just didn't seem right. But who were we to say? If she was happy, we were happy for her. February's board meeting, that was a shit show. We were all collected outside of the Zoom. None of us could get in. The board meeting we assumed was going on without us. We were all collectively watching and observing. We knew who was who, or we thought we knew who was who. We're all sitting outside of this Zoom, locked out, discussing amongst ourselves, can you get in? Why are we waiting? What's going on? It was crazy pants. We're all let in. Emma's frantic, and we don't understand. We're all feeling some sort of stress that she is projecting. We all see each other on the Zooms, and we're all relieved that we're all there, but we're all scattered, paying attention to her. She says she wants to close down the 501c3 because of the new administration, because of politics. We also were siding with her and the way that she was acting and responding because in January, many of us were newly elected and we were going to be trained to be a member of the board. She was going to have to invest her time in that. She was going to hand over the treasury role. Someone else in the community was going to run the money that she actually didn't want to let go of because their books were inaccurate. But she blamed it on the administration. Okay, all right, okay.